Hello and thank you for joining this webinar today. Really good to have you with us because today we showcase for the very first time our new Connection Center integration for Cherwell, which is really quite cool. So let's have a look. But before we do, what is Connection Center? Well, Connection Center is essentially a code-free way to integrate SCOM with about anywhere, from ITSM platforms like Cherwell that we're going to be talking about today, and other ones like ServiceNow as well as sort of messaging platforms like Slack and Teams, but ultimately you can connect SCOM with anywhere with the humble webhook. So any system that will accept a webhook inbound, you can push SCOM alerts to for all kinds of cool things, from messaging to automation. So that's Connection Center. But today we're going to be looking at the Cherwell capability of it. So on the left hand side we have SCOM, and on the right hand side Cherwell. When a SCOM alert is raised, it's pushed across with our integration to Cherwell and in the form of an incident. Straightforward enough, but there's more. As these incidents change, they're assigned to people, they move around, they're ultimately going to be resolved. The incident data is pushed back through into SCOM, so you can see this information without having to jump between two systems, which is really quite powerful. And ultimately, the aim of the game is to resolve these incidents, and that's what will happen. And in that case, you can get the SCOM alert to be closed automatically for you too. The other way around is also possible, where the SCOM alert closure can resolve the incident. It's entirely up to you. And that's the basic premise of what the integration is and does. It simplifies the process of automating raising incidents from SCOM, from the SCOM alert, and meaning you don't have to touch two systems by automating the process of closing off those SCOM alerts in SCOM where the incident's resolved. Not much setup in slides, so I guess let's have a look at it. Let's have a demo. All right, so here we are. This is Connection Center, and here you can see we're looking at alerts. We're going to look at outbound notifications first. I'll explain outbound and inbound quickly as well. So the whole idea of outbound notifications is this is where you configure, where you set up Connection Center to push SCOM alerts to in the first place. And in this case, I have configured it to push SCOM alerts to my Cherwell instance, which is here on Cherwell 10. If I go modify this connection, you'll see what options we get. So first we give it a name and a URL. If we use a proxy, we can provide our proxy URL. Well, I am not using a proxy. We put in here the client ID. You can specify the run as profile you would like to use. Ultimately, we do create one when you import our MP, but you don't have to use it. And the whole idea is you associate your run as account with this profile to make sure those credentials are distributed around SCOM. And here you set whether this connection is enabled or not. And then we have to specify for this connection, what do we want incidents to look like? And this is where we fill in a bunch of fields. Now this is all just freehand, just free typed. Essentially, I've pulled this data from within Cherwell, from within the fields of the incident, so category, subcategory, name, that kind of thing. This is obviously Cherwell. And that's where I got this information from. So the whole idea is you create a connection from SCOM to Cherwell with different options here depending on what you want it to happen. But which alerts do I send across? Well, that's this next screen here, which is the standard SCOM criteria picker. Here you can specify which SCOM alerts are pushed across in the first place. In my lab here, I'm pushing across only SCOM alerts where they're in the raise incident state. In reality, you probably have a bunch of these connections that are a bit more granular for different use cases. But there we go, you get the idea. This configuration is stored in SCOM in a management pack. It means when we talk about kind of backing up of configuration, it's just a case of exporting that management pack. Equally, if you wanted to move your configuration between management group, same deal. And then on the summary screen, you see what's going to happen. When you hit finish, what will happen is, obviously I had this set up already, so it was already showing as connected. If you set this up for the first time, it will show testing with a warning triangle until the connection test pass those essentially. So this is us checking that we can actually get into Cherwell and authenticate and have what we need basically to push up SCOM alerts this incident. This is in fact pulling status from a monitor in SCOM. So if your connection goes down, it will tell you about it, which is great. So that's us pushing up SCOM alerts. In this use case, we want to in this instance, we also want to pull updates on the incidents raised back into SCOM. So I'm going to go now into inbound notifications, and we're going to look at our Cherwell connection here. So this will be pulling things like the incident ID and who the incident is assigned to back from Cherwell. If I modify this one, again, we put in our URL, our proxy details, our client ID, and our credentials, and whether this is enabled or not. You specify how frequently SCOM should check with ServiceNow for updates in seconds. Then you specify here when a So then here you would specify when an incident is closed, what do you want to happen with the SCOM alert? Obviously we understand SCOM, so we understand we have to reset monitors when SCOM alerts are closed, where they originated from a monitor. So these are kind of our options here. We could choose to do nothing or close alerts. Those would obviously be from rules only, or close alerts and reset unit monitors, or all monitors, which would include dependency and aggregate monitors, which we traverse to reset what needs to be reset. And the other way around is also possible to be configured. So when the SCOM alert is closed, do you want to do anything with the incident? If anything. Again, you put your configuration in the management pack, and then on the summary screen, you see what you just set up. You hit finish, and everything would be saved. And again, you have that connection test, so you can see whether your connection is live and is working as expected. So we should probably push some alerts up now. Let's see, what have I got? Let's push some of these guys up. Let's see, we're going to set their resolution state to raise. Oops. We're going to set the resolution state to raise incident, like that, which will mean they'll then meet the criteria to be pushed across. So if I now go into Cherwell, this is the open incidents list sorted by when the incidents were created. So I'm going to refresh this, and what we should see is a bunch of incidents appear very shortly. Okay, I'm in the wrong, I need to be in the incidents today view here, which is just here. And here we go, they've come in. So these are my incidents here. Let's just have a look at one. So you can get a feel for what's going to be in one. There we go, so all the fields that we set in the connector have been set on the incident, as well as obviously the alert name and alert description. Which is really cool. So what I'm expecting to see now back in SCOM is some of this information in fields in SCOM. We'll see whether it's refreshed or not yet. Let's see. Yep, here we go. So these have incident IDs, the state, and these fields have been filled in. So yeah. So here we go, you can see this one was assigned to team first level support. If I go in here and assign it to Emma and go save. There we go, so that's now been assigned to Emma. What we should see if I go back into SCOM is after a period of time, the owner on whichever one it was will get updated. Let's just check which one it is quickly. The one ending 529, which is this one. So we're expecting that owner field to be updated via bidirectional sync any minute now. You get the idea anyway. Bidirectional sync is very powerful because it means that all this data is inside of SCOM, so you can see it here as I am doing. But also, if you have any dashboarding tools, you can stick all this data in your dashboard in a single place, which is really good. Helps you with your whole single pane of glass vision, which is cool. There we go, here we are, the one ending 529 has just been updated to owner Emma. So perfect, it's working as it should. The other thing that we will want to see, if I just refresh this to pick up any changes, is when I resolve this, we'll obviously want to see the SCOM alert get closed off so we don't have to double touch it. Let me just see, this is a monitor, so I'm expecting this monitor to be reset, so I'm going to go and open Health Explorer. So this is a monitor, so we're going to have a look at this one. We're going to open Health Explorer. Oops, open Health Explorer. And I'm going to clear this so this is showing everything, not just unhealthy, because otherwise you'll lose the view when the incident gets resolved. And this is a heartbeat failure, so this guy. And state change events is the tab we want, so you can see it's unhealthy. We're going to go back into Cherwell and resolve this incident. So here we are in the SCOM console. This is the Connection Center UI, and here we see the categories of things that we can sync, alerts and maintenance mode at the moment. And we're looking here at outbound notifications, which is all about places, connections that push SCOM alerts to places. We also have inbound notifications, which pull updates from places on those SCOM alerts, wherever they're pushed. So in the case of Cherwell, that will be information on the incidents raised. So we're going to start with outbound notifications, and by looking at this Cherwell connection here, you can see I have connections for ServiceNow and for webhooks. I'm looking at Logic apps here, but we're going to look at the Cherwell one. We're going to modify it and have a look at what's available. So we give this connection a name and a URL. If we have a proxy, we can put it in there, but I don't. Then we have client ID for auth, basically, along with our run as profile, which will contain the run as account that has credentials for Cherwell. This is grayed out because I'm in modify. In new, this would be not grayed out. And then we have an enable disable for this connection. We then have information on the incidents that we'll be raising. This is just freehand typed, so make sure you get this right and that this matches what is in Cherwell, and that's where I got this information from to make sure it matched. And whether we want the incidents to be closed when the SCOM alert closes or not. And then we have the criteria. So in this case, I'm pushing all SCOM alerts that are in state raise incident, but obviously this is the subscription criteria picker thing that you'll be very familiar with from notification channels. So what you would see here in the list is multiple connections to push SCOM alerts matching different criteria to different places in Cherwell based on what you put in the previous screen. The configuration, the connections you store are stored in management packs in SCOM, which means they're nice and easy to kind of back up and export and whatnot. And then we see a summary of what we did. Obviously, I have my connection set up already, so there's nothing that will get saved there. But you can see here the state of my connection is connected. We know this because when we create the connections, we also monitor the connections. We create a monitor for them as well. So we can see what's going on with them, if they're up or not, and if they're not, why not. So you'll see this go into the testing state when you first create one, which is the shown with a warning triangle, and it will either go green or red depending on whether it can connect. connect. So this is testing, auth and can we access the URL and all that kind of stuff, which is very, very useful. Cool. So we have this. This one will push out SCOM alerts. We also need to go to inbound notifications because we want to pull information on Cherwell incidents back into SCOMs. This is stuff like the incident ID and who it's assigned to and whatnot. So if I modify this one, again we're asked for connection details, proxy details, and auth details, and run as account stuff. We're asked how frequently do we want to pull updates from the source system, Cherwell in this case, destination system even. We're asked how frequently we want to pull updates from the destination system, which is in this case Cherwell. And then we're asked what we want to happen when a SCOM alert closes and when an incident closes. The options include do nothing, or do things like reset monitors and resolve incidents. So in this case, this one here, when an incident is closed or resolved, what do we want to happen with SCOM alerts? Do we want to do nothing or just close alerts when they come from a monitor, or if they come from a unit or dependency or aggregate monitor, to reset those monitors too? And then the same is true of incident as well. When the SCOM alert closes, you can get it to resolve the incident. Again, that config is stored in a management pack, and here's a summary of what's been set up. And again, we test the connection with the monitor, and that's the results you're seeing of that there. So we are good basically to send up some SCOM alerts. So I'm going to go to my active alerts, and I'm going to find something or other to push. Let's see what we've got. I need one that is a rule. That one's a rule. Let's have that one. That's from a rule rather. Let's set that one to raise incident. And one that is from a monitor. Yeah, that one's from a monitor. Oh, it's actually a real horrible one. Have to do something about that one really soon. Wow. Okay, I'll have to deal with that server later, but let's put this into resolution state raise incidents, which will push them across to Cherwell. And what we should see, if I now go to Cherwell and go to the home page here and relog in, if I go to incidents today, when these incidents are raised, they'll appear. So at the moment I have 4 in here, so they haven't yet been pushed across from the looks of things. So I'll stay here and I'll refresh a few times until they appear. Okay, they've started to come in. I see we've gone up to 5 now. So the first one to come in is this one. Oh, what's happened? Oh, it's in the middle of loading and it's not happy with me. Cherwell issue. Okay, so this is my disk space is low. We have 0.24% of free disk space. Gosh, that's bad. So if I go back to SCOM, we should see with bidirectional sync things like the incident ID, which is one ending 533. Let's see. Yes, there we go. It's in the new state. It's assigned to first level support. You get the idea. So if I go back into Cherwell and I assign this to somebody, let's assign it to Josh. There we go. What we should see is that Josh gets pulled with bidirectional sync back through into SCOM, and the owner field here gets updated. So we'll just give that a moment to update. In fact, while we're waiting, shall we see about the other? There's the other one we pushed actually. Here we go. The rule, one from the rule. It came in actually slightly earlier than this one, so you can see it's already been raised as an incident number ending 532. So that's cool. Maybe while we're waiting, we'll have a look at this one. Let's go into Cherwell and go back to my list of incidents. Incidents today, 5. I'm guessing it's this one. Yes, 532. There it is. So what I'd like to show next is what happens when you resolve the incidents, because we're expecting basically the SCOM alert to get closed out. So in Cherwell, I have to move this through a workflow for this to happen. I've got to start working on it. Ooh, Cherwell didn't seem happy with me doing that. but it did move to the right state, so that's okay. Before I resolve it, I'm just going to quickly just going to open the properties of this alert here and go to the history so we can see things happening to this incident, this alert, sorry, rather, from the incident as it sort of progresses. And we're going to resolve the incident. Here we go. Oh, it wants it to be assigned to somebody first. Let's assign it to me or somebody. There we go. Save. And then we'll resolve the incident. It will ask me probably for... Ooh. Resolve. Come on. It will ask me for why I want to resolve it. You know, ran script, whatever. Okay, and a cause code it wants next. Let's put in here an outage. Okay, this should now be, let's see, resolved. Status resolved. So if we go back into SCOM, hopefully this refreshes. What we should see is that this SCOM alert gets closed off. And what I'll do quickly while we're waiting is the previous one. We're waiting for the assignee. Oh, there you go. I just saw it refresh. That SCOM alert is gone, the one below. And this one that came from a monitor, you can see it's been assigned to Josh, as we said it should be. So that's good news. This one we're going to close off as well, which will result in this one. Because this one is from a monitor, that the monitor gets reset as well. So if we open Health Explorer, and clear this so we see healthy and unhealthy, and we'll keep an eye on the state change events here. Looks like this health issue has been not healthy for a few days. I wonder what's happened on that server. Anyway, so I'm going to go into Cherwell, and I'm going to close out that other incident, which is the one ending in 3, this one at the top. So we need to start by beginning work on it. This one's already assigned to somebody, so hopefully when I click resolve, it will be a bit happier than the other one. This one we deleted some files. That's what we're actually going to do on this server, I suspect, for real. It's a file server after all. And what did we do? Let's say this was the fault of software malfunction. All right, so one incident resolved, and back into SCOM. What I'm expecting to see is in Health Explorer, we see a state change event that will show us that this is going to go from red to green, presumably, or maybe even red back to red, thinking about it, because the disk space isn't, in fact, clear. But, you know, we are resetting it, so it may go green for a bit before it recalculates the health. And yeah, we should see that it was reset by us, and we should see that this SCOM alert is closed off. So we're just going to wait for that to happen. There we go. Saw the alert close out. It's no longer in the list. If I refresh this screen here, availability, it is green, and look, it's gone from red to green. And if I this monitor has been forced to a reset state, so that's us resetting it. And if I were to look at the closed alert, which I'm not going to do for the sake of time, you'd see a note on there along the lines of this SCOM alert was closed by this incident, that kind of thing. And there we go. That's it working end to end. This one, unfortunately for me, they will come back. This is a real one. If I no, I'm not going to do it now. Because you know that server is really out of disk. I need to have a look at that as soon as this webinar ends. But that's the whole idea, basically. So we've made it really, really simple to automate the process of raising incidents in Cherwell from these SCOM alerts, so we don't have to double touch systems. One other thing I should probably point out quickly is that when we import our management pack, we create a bunch of profiles in here. So Cherwell gets a profile which you can associate accounts with by default. So we're using all the stuff that SCOM comes with out of the box. Also in resource pools, you see a Cookdown Connection Center resource pool, this one here, which has automatic membership and automatically contains all of the SCOM management servers in your pool. So we have high availability out of the box by using all of that cool SCOM native ability, which is really cool. All right. If you like what you've seen here, go to cookdown.com/connection-center-Cherwell, where you can take a trial yourself to see what you think about this in your own deployment. You can book a demo if you want to go into some more depth on something, and of course you can ask us any old question you like on connecting SCOM and Cherwell, and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much for watching. We'll now turn this session over to Q&A, so if you have any questions, fire away.